Hello everyone, and welcome to my Beyond the Gates official channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Izaiah had finally convinced himself that the chaos of his past was behind him, that the storms he once invited into his life had burned themselves out, leaving only quiet routines and cautious hope in their wake. But in Fairmont Crest, where love is never simple and history refuses to stay buried, peace is nothing more than an illusion waiting to shatter. And it did the moment the black sedan pulled through the iron gates and stopped just outside the mansion, the engine idling like a warning bell, because stepping out of that car was the one woman Izaiah never expected to see again, Serena Cole, the ex-girlfriend who once knew every one of his secrets, every weakness he tried so desperately to forget, the woman who broke his heart and disappeared without a trace, now standing there in designer heels and a calculated smile, as if no time had passed at all. Serena's return sent shockwaves through the entire household before she even crossed the threshold, because Fairmont Crest remembers its ghosts, and Serena was one of the most dangerous ones. Beautiful, brilliant, and utterly relentless when she wanted something, especially when that something was Izaiah. Inside, Izaiah froze the moment he heard her voice call his name, a voice he had tried to forget but never truly escaped, and when he turned to face her, the air between them thickened with unresolved tension, betrayal, and unfinished love, while Eva, who had worked tirelessly to build a fragile sense of safety with Izaiah, watched from the staircase, her heart sinking as she realized that whatever peace she thought she had was about to be ripped away. Serena wasted no time explaining why she was back, claiming she had made the biggest mistake of her life by leaving Izaiah, insisting that fear and manipulation had driven her away, not a lack of love, and as she spoke, her eyes never left his face, searching for cracks in the armor he had built, because Serena knew him too well to believe he was truly over her. Izaiah tried to remain composed, insisting that the past was exactly where she belonged, but the tremor in his voice betrayed him, and Serena seized on it immediately, reminding him of nights spent planning a future together, of promises whispered in the dark, of sacrifices he made that no one else ever acknowledged, and each word landed like a blade, reopening wounds that had never fully healed. As word of Serena's return spread through Fairmont Crest, reactions were swift and ruthless. Vernon raised questions about Serena's sudden appearance and the suspicious timing. Sharon warned that Serena never did anything without an agenda, and Tracy quietly began digging into Serena's past, convinced that her return was connected to something far more dangerous than romance. But Serena, ever the strategist, played the role of the remorseful woman seeking redemption, even as subtle manipulations unfolded behind the scenes. Eva confronted Izaiah later that night, her voice shaking as she demanded to know whether Serena still had a hold on him, and though Izaiah swore that his heart belonged to the present, not the past, Eva could see the conflict in his eyes, the war between who he used to be and who he was trying to become, and that uncertainty terrified her more than any lie ever could. Serena, meanwhile, wasted no time inserting herself into Izaiah's life, appearing at charity events, business meetings, even private family dinners under the guise of closure, each encounter carefully designed to remind Izaiah of the intimacy they once shared, while subtly undermining Eva with half-truths and veiled comments that suggested Eva was merely a placeholder, never meant to last. Flashbacks haunted Izaiah, moments of passion, moments of betrayal, the night Serena vanished after a confrontation that was never fully explained, and as he struggled to reconcile those memories with the woman standing before him now, Tracy's investigation uncovered a chilling detail. Serena hadn't just left town years ago, she had been running from someone, and her return coincided with a financial scandal threatening to engulf multiple families within Fairmont Crest. When Tracy confronted Serena privately, Serena's composed mask slipped for just a second, enough to reveal fear, desperation, and a willingness to do whatever it took to survive, including reclaiming Izaiah as both emotional anchor and strategic shield. The tension reached a boiling point when Serena orchestrated a public confrontation at a gala, forcing Izaiah to choose between the past and the present under the watchful eyes of Fairmont Crest's elite. confessing her love for him in front of everyone, claiming she never stopped fighting for them, while Eva stood frozen in humiliation, realizing that this battle was no longer just about love, but about power, control, and survival. Izaiah's hesitation, brief but devastating, was all Serena needed to see, and as whispers spread and alliances shifted, Eva made a heartbreaking decision to step back, refusing to beg for a love that might still belong to someone else, while Izaiah, torn apart by guilt and longing, finally confronted Serena alone, demanding the full truth about why she really returned. What Serena revealed changed everything: threats, blackmail, a past crime tied to powerful figures within Fairmont Crest, and a desperate need for protection that only Izaiah could provide, leaving him trapped between doing what was right and protecting the woman who once destroyed him. As the episode closed, Serena stood at the window of the guest suite she had somehow secured, watching the lights of Fairmont Crest shimmer like a battlefield she intended to conquer. Eva packed a suitcase with tears streaming down her face, and Izaiah stared at his reflection, realizing that Serena's return wasn't just a test of his heart. It was the beginning of a war that would expose secrets, shatter families, and force him to decide whether love was worth the destruction it inevitably left behind. Because in Beyond the Gates, the past never knocks before coming back, and sometimes the most dangerous enemy is the one who already knows how to make you fall. The morning after Serena Cole's explosive reappearance dawned with an uneasy stillness over Fairmont Crest, the kind of silence that settles only when secrets are about to detonate, and Izaiah felt at the moment he opened his eyes, the weight in his chest heavier than any hangover, because even in sleep Serena had found a way back into his mind, her voice echoing with apologies that sounded sincere and promises that felt like traps, and as he dressed for the day, he could not ignore the truth clawing at him, that her return had already begun to unravel everything he had fought to rebuild. Downstairs, the atmosphere was brittle, Eva moving through the kitchen with forced calm, her eyes avoiding Izaiah's, while Sharon watched them both with sharp concern, recognizing the familiar signs of a triangle forming, the kind that never ended without casualties. Serena, meanwhile, played the long game flawlessly, emerging late with an effortless elegance that commanded attention, thanking everyone for their hospitality, speaking softly of new beginnings and second chances, all while subtly positioning herself beside Izaiah as if she had never left that spot, her hand brushing his arm just long enough to remind him of intimacy, without saying a word. Eva noticed everything: the touches, the shared glances, the way Serena seemed to know exactly when to speak and when to stay silent. And though she told herself she was being paranoid, the knot in her stomach tightened, because deep down she sensed that Serena wasn't just back for love, she was back to reclaim territory. As the days unfolded, Serena's presence grew impossible to ignore, not just emotionally, but strategically, because she began resurfacing connections from Izaiah's past that he had deliberately severed, introducing herself at business functions as if she were still his partner, speaking confidently about deals and investments she should not have known about, prompting Vernon to question how much access Serena had retained even after her disappearance. Tracy's investigation intensified, uncovering evidence that Serena had been linked to an offshore account connected to a long-buried scandal involving forged documents and stolen funds, a scandal that had nearly destroyed multiple families years ago, including Izaiah's. And the realization that Serena's return coincided so perfectly with renewed financial scrutiny made Tracy certain that Serena was not just a romantic complication, but a ticking time bomb. When Tracy confronted Izaiah with her findings, warning him that Serena might be using him as cover or leverage, Izaiah reacted defensively, insisting that Serena had changed, that people deserved redemption. Yet even as he spoke, doubt flickered in his eyes, because part of him knew Serena too well to believe she ever did anything without calculating the outcome. Eva's breaking point came when Serena cornered her alone in the garden, the confrontation disguised as compassion, Serena apologizing for the awkwardness of her return while subtly asserting her history with Izaiah, describing moments only they had shared, framing Eva as someone temporary, someone who arrived after the damage had already been done. And though Serena never raised her voice, Every word was a blade, cutting Eva's confidence to pieces until she finally snapped, accusing Serena of manipulating everyone and demanding to know what she really wanted. Serena's smile faded just enough to reveal something darker underneath, and in a low voice she admitted she wanted what was hers, not just Izaiah's love but the life she believed had been stolen from her, leaving Eva shaken and more uncertain than ever about her place in Izaiah's world. Izaiah's internal conflict reached its peak when Serena revealed the full extent of the danger she was in, confessing that powerful figures tied to the old scandal had resurfaced, threatening to expose her and anyone connected to her unless she delivered something, or someone, of equal value. And while she stopped short of naming names, the implication was clear. Izaiah was her shield, her leverage, her way back into a protected circle she could not survive without. Torn between anger and compassion, Izaiah accused her of using him, of weaponizing their past, but Serena broke down, insisting that she had never stopped loving him, that leaving him had been an act of fear, not betrayal, and that if she lost him now, she would lose everything. That confession shattered whatever resolve Izaiah had left, because in Fairmont Crest, love has always been the most dangerous currency of all. The fallout was swift and brutal. Eva, sensing that Izaiah was slipping further away, made the painful decision to leave Fairmont Crest temporarily, choosing dignity over desperation, while Serena wasted no time filling the void, stepping deeper into Izaiah's life under the guise of necessity, even as Tracy prepared to expose the truth about Serena's involvement in the scandal, regardless of who got hurt. The episode closed on a chilling cliffhanger, a mysterious envelope delivered to Izaiah containing photos from the night Serena disappeared years ago, photos that proved she hadn't left alone, and a single message written in red ink: "Choose wisely, or everyone falls," leaving Izaiah standing alone in the shadows, realizing that Serena's return wasn't just about reclaiming a lost love. It was the opening move in a deadly game that would push every character beyond the gates of loyalty, morality, and survival. By the time Eva's car disappeared down the long, winding drive of Fairmont Crest, a quiet devastation settled over the estate, the kind that doesn't announce itself with shouting or slammed doors, but instead lingers in the corners of every room, and Izaiah felt it immediately, the absence of Eva's presence louder than any confrontation they never finished having. He stood at the window long after she left, gripping the curtain as if holding on could somehow rewind time, yet even as guilt tore at him, Serena's shadow loomed closer, her victory subtle but undeniable, because in her world, distance was opportunity, and Eva's departure cleared the board in a way Serena had planned for from the moment she stepped out of that black sedan. Serena wasted no time re-establishing herself as a permanent fixture, moving through the house with quiet authority, offering help with business matters, advising on social obligations, reminding everyone, especially Izaiah, that she understood this world better than anyone else ever could, and while Sharon openly questioned Serena's intentions, Vernon urged caution, aware that Serena's connections ran deeper and darker than they appeared. Meanwhile, Tracy followed the paper trail relentlessly, uncovering evidence that Serena's disappearance years ago had been tied not just to financial crimes, but to a cover-up involving forged wills, hidden assets, and a death that had been ruled accidental far too quickly. And as Tracy pieced it together, one chilling truth emerged. Serena hadn't simply run away. She had been erased. Izaiah's resolve weakened further when Serena revealed just how much she had sacrificed to protect him in the past, confessing that the scandal threatening to resurface had originally been meant to destroy him, that she had taken the fall quietly, disappearing so his future wouldn't be obliterated before it began, and whether this was the truth or another manipulation was impossible to tell. But the effect on Izaiah was immediate and devastating, because if even part of her story was real, then his entire understanding of their past had been built on a lie. Haunted by doubt, Izaiah confronted Vernon, demanding answers about the scandal from years ago, only to discover that Vernon himself had helped bury the truth, convinced at the time that protecting the family justified the means, and that revelation fractured the fragile trust Izaiah had left in the people who raised him. As alliances shifted, Serena positioned herself as the only one being fully honest with him, even as she carefully omitted the parts of the story that painted her as a willing participant rather than a reluctant martyr. Across town, Eva struggled to rebuild her sense of self, replaying every moment she had ignored her instincts, every warning sign she dismissed in the name of love, and when Tracy finally reached out to her with what she had uncovered, Eva realized that walking away might not be enough to save herself, or Izaiah, from what was coming. Tracy revealed that Serena's return had triggered renewed interest from powerful players who believed something valuable was still hidden within Fairmont Crest, something only Serena could lead them to, and if Serena succeeded in reclaiming Izaiah completely, he would be pulled directly into the line of fire. Determined not to let Serena win unchecked, Eva made the risky decision to return, not as the woman begging for answers, but as someone prepared to fight back. The tension exploded the night Eva arrived unexpectedly at a private gathering Serena had orchestrated, an intimate affair meant to solidify her place at Izaiah's side in front of the city's elite, and the shock on Serena's face, brief but unmistakable, was the first crack in her carefully constructed composure. Eva confronted Serena publicly, accusing her of rewriting history and weaponizing victimhood to manipulate everyone around her, and while Serena countered with emotional pleas and selective truths, Tracy stepped forward with proof that Serena had continued laundering money long after her disappearance, revealing that her return wasn't driven by fear alone but by greed and unfinished business. The room fell silent as Serena realized the walls were closing in, and in that moment, the mask finally dropped, her desperation boiling over into rage as she accused Fairmont Crest of using her, discarding her, and expecting her to disappear quietly once again. Izaiah was forced into an impossible choice, one that shattered any illusion of neutrality: stand by Serena and risk destroying everything else, or confront the woman he once loved and accept that their history had been poisoned beyond repair. As authorities closed in and long-buried secrets surfaced, Serena turned to Izaiah one last time, begging him to remember who they were before the lies, before the fear, before the gates closed behind her, and though his heart broke at the sight of her unraveling, Izaiah finally understood that loving Serena meant surrendering his future to her chaos. He chose truth over nostalgia, loyalty over guilt, and as Serena was escorted away under the glare of flashing lights, she locked eyes with him, promising this wasn't over, that Fairmont Crest had no idea what it had just unleashed. The aftermath was anything but peaceful: families fractured, reputations ruined, and the foundation of Fairmont Crest shaken to its core. Yet as Eva and Izaiah stood together amid the wreckage, unsure whether forgiveness was still possible, a final twist emerged. A hidden file Serena had activated before her arrest surfaced online, exposing secrets far beyond her own, implicating powerful figures who would stop at nothing to silence anyone connected to Izaiah. The final image lingered on the gates of Fairmont Crest, slowly closing as sirens echoed in the distance, a reminder that in this world, no victory comes without consequence, and every return, no matter how unexpected, leaves scars that never fully healed. By the days following Serena Cole's arrest, Fairmont Crest did not breathe a sigh of relief. It held its breath, because everyone knew that Serena had never played her hand without planting explosives beneath the table, and the anonymous data dump she released before being taken away proved that her exit was only the beginning. Files surfaced across encrypted channels and shadowy forums, exposing financial transactions, forged contracts, secret paternity agreements, and payoff records that tied some of the most respected names in Fairmont Crest to crimes they thought were buried forever. And as the fallout rippled outward, panic replaced composure. Alliances fractured overnight, and the question on everyone's lips became not if more truths would emerge, but who would be destroyed next. Izaiah found himself at the epicenter of the storm, blamed by some for trusting Serena, pitted by others for being her chosen anchor, and quietly targeted by forces far more dangerous than gossip, because the files suggested that Serena hadn't acted alone. She had been a messenger, a pawn who learned how to move like a queen. Eva returned to Fairmont Crest cautiously, her reunion with Izaiah heavy with unresolved pain and unspoken truths, because while they stood on the same side now, The damage Serena inflicted between them had not magically healed, and trust, once fractured, does not mend without leaving scars. Eva struggled with the knowledge that Serena had nearly succeeded not just in reclaiming Izaiah, but in isolating him completely, and while she wanted to protect him, she also refused to disappear into his shadow again, insisting on boundaries that felt foreign but necessary. Izaiah, for his part, wrestled with shame and anger. Shame for doubting Eva, anger for allowing nostalgia to cloud his judgment, and though he vowed never to let the past control him again, the past refused to release its grip, especially as anonymous threats began arriving, warning him to stay silent, to distance himself from the investigation, to forget Serena ever existed. Tracy's role shifted from investigator to target when it became clear that she was the only one who fully understood the scope of Serena's operation, and as she connected the dots, she uncovered